It's time for another power-packed episode of Headspace with Dr. Mike. Each week, Dr. Mike is committed to addressing real life, sometimes polarizing and controversial issues, while offering practical and informed insight. Listen in as we discuss hot topics that matter to us and the communities we live in.
What's up, Headspacers? What's up, everybody?
Good morning,
Christine. Look at you.
Good morning.
I like the blinged out Black Power fist. That's right. All right now. That's nice.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, it is so good to see you. It's so good to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all, Dr. Mike has been on vacation, has been in the hospital. A lot has happened over the last few weeks. A lot has happened over the last few weeks, but it is so good to be seen. It's always definitely glad to be seen and what is it? Be seen and not viewed, or you ever heard that before? That
no,
expression?
I'm a little younger than you.
You know what? No, it's the idea of you'd rather be something outside of being viewed.
Nah,
being
I'm a little
in a casket. Like,
no. Oh, I get it. I'm just a little too young to have ever heard that before.
Okay. Good morning, Kevin. Good to see you, brother, in Denver. Y'all, we have listeners all over the world, literally. Matter of fact, I got an email from somebody who listens in Malaysia. And no, they are not like a scammer. They really just stumbled upon our podcast and they just really enjoyed what we talk about, and they get together and listen to the podcast. So people know, well, before we get into it, we have our live show on Saturdays, but then Sunday nights, well, actually Sunday morning, late Saturday night, Sunday morning, the show actually gets converted to a podcast, and you can actually go where you find your podcast, and so you can actually listen to the shows in other places, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and there's a few others. And we're actually exploring right now the idea of possibly going on to Twitch. And so that's something that I've heard about. So needless to say, Headspace with Dr. Mike is growing. What's up, Jamal Calloway? Good to see you, my friend. It is so nice to see everybody. How are you feeling, Christine? How are you feeling?
I'm doing all right. I don't have any complaints. There's no point.
Is the house empty just yet? How empty is your house yet? Is it empty yet?
What you mean?
Well, I mean, kids
going back to school. No, my youngest, she's only in high school, so she's still here.
Okay.
Still here. Right. I got 2 years left on my contract.
2 years left. Lord have mercy. I can't wait to see what that's going. I'm not rushing it.
Yeah, it's emotional. It's I'm gonna miss her. I'm gonna miss her. She cries from time to time now, just thinking about us being apart. So.
Oh. She's the baby. She's the baby, right?
She is.
That sounds about right. So, Well, Lord have mercy. We got a lot happening, so let's go ahead and jump into it. What has been happening in the world? It's been a while since we were together in the studio. So, what's been happening in the world?
Well, not too. But before we get heavy, let's have some fun. What you gonna do this weekend? How you spending your?
Well, believe it or not, I do have a couple of writing projects that I have to finish up this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But I am excited about Rock Steady, baby. That's what I'm feeling now. Let's call this song exactly what it is. What it is. What it is. What it is. We're gonna pay some respect.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna put some respect on Aretha Franklin's name. Matter of fact, Sherelle and I are going to see that this afternoon, about 4:00 show.
Okay.
We're gonna go ahead and put out AMC. What is that thing called? We have the thing where you can go to the 3 movies a week, or something like that. And so we are going to put that to work, and we're going to go see Respect. So I'm excited about that.
I heard it was good. I don't have 4:00 tickets, but I do. I think I'm going to see that also. I heard so far pretty good reviews about it already. So
everybody, they said that it wasn't just J Hud's. I mean, of course, J Hud is who she is, but then everybody else that's supporting her they say is really good. Now, and I'm curious. That's right, Kevin. A-list. Yep. What I'm curious about is how is it going to compare? Did you see the one that National Geographic put out where it was like a 4-part or 5-part.
I didn't, but I remember you talking about it. I'm gonna have to check that out.
That was really good in itself. And the woman that I can't remember her name offhand, but she played Harriet Tubman in Harriet, and she sings too. She actually played Aretha, and actually just the storyline to that and what they did with that was pretty impressive. So I'm just like, wow, I'm eager to see what this is. But what I understand is that Aretha handpicked J. Hud. Like, I think the conversation goes something like, she told her that you're going to win an Oscar portraying me. She said, you're going to win an Oscar portraying me. And like, so she handpicked it. So I'm guessing that Aretha played a very big role in the development of the script for that.
Nice.
Yeah. Jamal Calloway said the Ravens play tonight. Yes, football season has begun. Christine, are you excited about football season?
Football season stresses me out a little bit, Dr. Mike, if I'm being totally honest. I mean, football fandom is not for the faint of heart. Where we live, we're at opposite sides of the spectrum on my fandom versus your fandom. And I just don't understand why that has to be. Why can't we just live cohesively? Why can't I just be a Steelers fan in peace and you cheer on your Ravens?
Because you're not listening to the Lord. You are not listening to. You and my wife are both in civil disobedience. Y'all are in spiritual disobedience. Y'all are not listening to the words of the Lord. The Lord has commanded.
He told us to lead, not follow. He told us to go down the road less traveled.
Scripture works, but I'm gonna go ahead and let you have that for now. As quiet as it's kept, as quiet as it is kept.
You don't hate the Steelers,
huh? Say it again.
You don't hate the Steelers? Is that what you was gonna say?
I don't hate them. I take it as like a rivalry, just like here in Baltimore, you have the city Poly rivalry. You have Michigan, Ohio State, rivalry. I just take it like that. Like some people are just going to be gung ho. They're extremists on all sides of the spectrum. So
as though they're on the payroll. Yep.
Say it one more time.
As though they're on the payroll.
They do act as if Ravens marketing does help keep their light bills. I do agree with that. But for me, when I give you guys a hard time, it really isn't fun. Kevin said you're by listening to the Lord because you aren't cheering for the Broncos. Well, that is not going to happen. But now as I use this terminology all the time. As quiet as it's kept. The Ravens weren't around all that much. We had the Colts, and then we had no one. So we kind of had to adopt some kind of team. So you had a lot of people from Baltimore who were fans of they're not the Redskins anymore. The
football team.
The Washington football team. Then you had fans who just chose other places, the Giants, the Steelers, of course. And so I get it. I just like to give y'all a hard time about it because
you're definitely not one of the people that I'm talking about taking out of, it's not.
People get real serious. They like
terrible. Yes.
They like really ready to really just go to blows. And it's like, well, is the salary cap partly paying you too much?
Right. Funny.
Yeah, but preseason is here. I think our first game is tonight. Preseason is what it is. In my opinion. I mean, I think it's great that the players get to do those things, but I just think that the more we have them on the field, the bigger the chances of them getting hurt because the season is so long to begin with. And so but I mean, that's why they make the big bucks, right? All right. So what else we got going on?
Let's see. Oh, Cassandra. Go Ravens.
We have to acknowledge the CEO of Elevation Global Media, Cassandra. She has spoken. It is a Ravens world where she's at. That's right.
So I wanted to ask you, had you heard about what's going on over in Afghanistan?
Christine, it's really sad. I was having a conversation with somebody about it, and one of the things they just said was, why do we really care about it? And I get it because it's on the other side of the world. I remember that the gist of what I'm understanding is that when President Biden made the declaration that he was pulling the troops out of Afghanistan, which when the declaration was made, I thought that's what people wanted. Like I thought people wanted the troops out of Afghanistan. So I wasn't as shook by that. But then apparently there was a lot of visceral that resulted in that because people were like, oh my gosh, the area is still unstable and blah, 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 blah. And so sure enough, the Taliban, which was in charge of Afghanistan before we went and kind of after 9/11, they're taking back over the country. And they're claiming that the Kabul, which is the capital, it's only a matter of days before, or maybe weeks. I think it's more a matter of days though, because they're doing it pretty fast, where the capital is going to be overtaken, and so Afghanistan once again is going to be under Taliban rule, which is not the best, because it was during that time under Taliban rule that Osama bin Laden was able to get things procured to get 9/11 done, and just some of the havoc that was wreaked over there. But one of the things that I did find fascinating was there was an article on Reuters or BBC that said that there were women who had nice banking jobs were ripped out of their banking. They were pulled out of their banking jobs and weren't allowed to do those jobs anymore in the areas that are reoccupied by the Taliban. And so there's a lot of drama with that. So it's not just about just terrorists, but just, I guess, civil rights being infringed on over there. I think and then they were showing the pictures of, the hijab that they have to wear, but this is not just the one where it covers up it covers up their whole situation. Like all they have is just the slits for the eyes, and they have to walk around in that. And that's just I don't know. It's unfortunate for them. And I think the other part of it too is, both of us have friends that, have served in different parts of the armed forces. And so I do think about all the work and the lives that were lost. I have a high school classmate that is no longer with us. You remember Jesse Melton? I think you remember him from middle school. He's no longer with us because of something that happened over there with the IED, a bomb, or I think I used the wrong analogy, but it was a okay.
Sorry.
So it's one of those.
IUD is birth control.
Birth control. Okay. I don't think there was any drama with the birth control. Okay. So what is it? IED. Okay. So that was the a bomb blew up one of the cars that he was in, or the truck that he was in, or whatever. And so just the sacrifices that were already made to clean that place up, just it all appears to be going for naught. So we're definitely going to be praying for them. And those things directly they impact us a little indirectly, Christine, because when they have to pull when those areas are hostile like that, they have to pull those Americans out of there quickly. And sometimes we get activated in our job, for repatriation. So it has a bigger impact because we got to get them back here quickly, and sometimes we may get activated. So it actually has bigger implications across the way, right?
Word.
Anyway, that's that. All right. Well, I think we probably should just take a quick break and then kind of get back into it, because we still got some things to talk about. Good night. Go ahead, Crystal. 2020 gave birth to a lot of endeavors. Here in 2021, everyone has had to get in touch with their inner producer. Our man Garrett Brace is one of those guys you need on your team. We at Headspace with Dr. Mike are clients of his, as he ensures all of our audio files are crisp, clean, and cool. If you have any audio, video, and even lighting needs, hit him up at G Walt Services on Instagram. Remember, G Walt Services, servicing all your audio, video, and lighting needs. Da, 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 da.
So you want to talk about the Olympics?
You think? We didn't get a chance to really recap on it.
Well, before you love the Olympics, and me, I'm not nearly as much as you, but I do want to say one thing about the little, not little, well, she was, because she's young, the diver from China.
From China?
Ooh,
adorable.
Ooh, I mean, all of them.
Stealthy going into that water, though.
She's impressive.
She was stealthy going into that water, wasn't she? It was like, look at her, and she would twist and turn and all that stuff. I was, you know, they the diving was fascinating. I was even more enthralled with it this year than usually. I don't know why, but I was impressed by it. Tom Daly, the guy from Great Britain, he crocheted or knitted a sweater, or a jumper as they call it in the Commonwealth. He actually knitted it. Did you see that? It was actually a big, like, people are like, I kind of want that sweater.
I have to Google it.
You got to Google it. Like he knitted it. I mean, it even had it had like the symbols and the emblems and the logos and I mean, I heard it was piping hot in Japan, so I don't know why he was wearing the sweater, but you know, to each his own.
Not piping hot.
But you know, I really was. One of the things that really struck me was, well, first of all, America got the most medals, and which is typically the case. It's actually been the case the last few Olympics, at least. We got the most medals. It was a little sketchy as to us getting the most gold medals. And after the women's volleyball team and then the men and women's basketball teams won gold, we actually overtook China by 1 gold medal. So not only did we have the highest medal rate, but we actually had the highest gold medal rate, which I thought was pretty impressive. But I think they were saying one thing, and I think I would imagine you would appreciate this, Christine, being that you are a woman and all, was that 60% of our athletes were women. And they said that if you just took out the medals earned by the women on the U.S. team, they would have had the 4th largest. They would have been number 4 on the list of medal count.
Wow.
So that says a lot for women's sports, and that's pretty impressive. Like the women were killing. Like even the relay. Like, did you follow the drama with the relays, with the baton and all that stuff?
Nope.
Yeah, so the men apparently are cursed.
Oh, I did. Okay, so I saw the women kill it, and then I saw the comments talking about. So maybe you guys can show the men how to do it. Tell me what happened. Okay.
So the men, I think it was the 4x400. They ended up getting. They did well with that, but the 4x100, they didn't even make it out of the preliminaries. They did not even. They didn't even make it to the semifinals. And typically for those relays, like I noticed this with swimming too, they don't put the best runners in the early heats, to conserve their energy, right? Swimming was the same way. And I think there were a couple of relays that the men didn't do well in as well. But getting the baton passing just was not good. I don't think they dropped the baton. They just didn't get it passed fast enough to beat out everybody else. And so there were a number of relays that the men weren't in because they couldn't get together. But the women did that, especially that 400. And what I appreciated about it was they had the 2 that won the hurdles, right? So you had Muhammad and then McLaughlin, Sophia. She was basically the one who got the world record. She got the world record at the trials, and then she got the world record at the Olympics. So they're hurdlers, and they ran in that relay. And then they had the one lady who won the 800. She actually did the 400 relay, and she was the anchor leg and killed it. But the best part about it I really loved was Allison Felix. Her 5th Olympics. You say I love the Olympics, right? Her 5th Olympics, and the better part of it is that when she placed, she got a bronze medal in her event. I think it was the 400. She got a bronze medal in that, which made her tied with Carl Lewis for the most decorated track and field Olympian. Right, for America. But then when she got the gold medal for the relay, it took her over the top. So she surpassed Carl Lewis. So I thought that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I thought it was.
I was impressed by a race that I caught. I don't know which one that it was. So I'm not, but the woman fell and still ended up winning. Which one?
I think that was the 1500 maybe, or yeah, I think it was the 1500 or the 10,000, something like that. They had some. What do I think of the closing ceremonies, Dr. D? I think that having been a part of some of those in the past, those are typically supposed to be festive. What's the word?
Festive.
Festive. I can't talk.
What is going on?
They're supposed to be festive. I think that they did a good job of just closing out the games and like sending everybody home. It was clearly not that many athletes stayed over because, it was pretty oppressive. First of all, I heard it was very hot. And then secondly, the COVID cases, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, the COVID cases in Japan are astronomical. They're actually going back up. And so I think people were just trying to get out as quickly as possible. But I thought they did a decent job of just closing it out, handing it off to Paris because it's going to be in Paris in 3 years. So I think that's going to be it. So, overall, we got our little Olympic fix. It did feel weird seeing 2020, even though it's 2021, but I think we all know. The one piece that, we didn't really get to talk about, this happened a few weeks ago, but just the Simone Biles, like just the situation with that. And, I thought that was pretty fascinating. But the part that really got me was everybody was so quick to jump to conclusions about her, like just some of the stuff that they had said about the poor girl. And, I always ascribe to Mark Twain, get your facts first and you can distort them as you please. And it turns out that the girl really was in serious, like she was actually in trouble. Like she was having issues. I think it's called the twisties. And you were telling me, Christine, before the show that that's a real thing.
Yes.
What about it is real?
I don't have a gymnast, but my daughter was a cheerleader.
Okay.
And in cheerleading, competitive cheerleading, there is a lot of gymnastic flipping and things like that happen. And my daughter went from being able to do, a tumbling pass full out to not even being able to do a cartwheel like overnight, just because it was mental. Like she couldn't get her spatial awareness was off, just what Simone was trying to explain to people. She had done like, I don't know if it was on TikTok or whatever, but she was trying to explain to people what happens. Like you lose focus. You're supposed to, you kind of can count your revolutions and you know where you are so that you can know when you need to land. But she couldn't even, you can't count it. You don't know where you are. And if you had looked, like she showed the pictures of one of them, Simone did, and you could look, the look on her face was sheer fear, like because she had no idea where she was. I don't know if you saw that or not, but it really is a real thing. And I think that people should just stand down. Like, I'm sure that she didn't go over there to embarrass the team. I'm sure, you know what I mean? Like the stuff that people were saying just to me was completely out of line. She's letting her team down. I'm quite sure they knew about it before everyone else knew about it. I'm sure that all the powers that be, took her mental health into consideration, which is major. Mental health is such a taboo topic sometimes. So I'm glad that they allowed her to do it. And I think that people should zip it.
Yeah, zip it. Yeah, no, that's very scary. And she did, and she made mention of it. She was like, and that's why we were getting piecemeal. Like she may be competing in this, she may not be, because it's dangerous. I mean, you're flipping and stuff on these little bars, and if you don't know what side is up or what side's down, I mean, that's dangerous. I mean, no, I think the part that makes me laugh always is that when people want to complain about somebody doing something that they wouldn't even be able to come close to doing. Right.
There was actually a gymnast in, I think it was the 1972 Olympics, that went against her better judgment. She was having something similar where she knew that she wasn't comfortable, and her coach, or her coach wanted her to do something, and she knew that she shouldn't do it. Like it wasn't right. She ended up paralyzed. I have to look it up. And
I think I remember hearing something like that. Yeah, no, that's very true. Well, needless to say, Simone, you didn't really have anything to prove to us. It would have been nice to see you like surpass records and all that stuff. But you know what? You're still a gold medalist in our book. And we love you. We love USA Gymnastics. We love Team USA. Go ahead and pay another bill, Crystal.
Follow the Headspace with Dr. Mike show on all social media platforms at Headspace DM.
We want to keep you up to date on all of our hot topics and keep the dialogue going even after the show. We also value what's important to you and your community. DM your show ideas to us on Instagram or Facebook. The next time you log on, you may hear Dr. Mike discussing the very topic or issue close to your heart.
Oh, excuse me, I'm coughing. No, everybody, it is not COVID. It is just allergies. But
speaking of COVID,
yeah, it's not gone.
In my humble opinion, Ron DeSantis is tripping. Tripping. This man is threatening to fire teachers because they went against him and his non-wanting to uphold the mask mandate. Like,
yeah, I am at a loss for I'm at a loss. I don't, and I'm not, I was a communications major in college and theology. My doctorate is in theology related stuff, but I am at a loss for why there's so much angst against the masks. I can understand a little bit about the vaccinations, a little bit, because just it did seem a bit, I was skeptical. We've talked about this before, that I was skeptical at the very beginning, and it took me getting some education on it. So I can understand a little bit about that. But when it comes to the mask, I don't get it at all. Like, I don't feel like it costs anybody anything.
Right.
I mean, you get to a point where, you got to sometimes you got to find a mask that you can fit comfortably. Like, I have a couple of cloth masks that when I'm doing certain activities, I probably shouldn't wear it, or else I'm going to suffocate. But, I don't understand. I'm confused. Like, why would anybody challenge it? And I've had some friends that tried to explain it to me, and I don't understand it.
I don't either. I don't understand how people think that it's an infringement on their rights. Like, I mean, maybe is it the mandate of it all that people are taking? Like,
no.
I don't understand. Like,
the part that frustrates me a little bit about it, I'm just going to be honest, is so the complaint last year was the kids weren't in school, right?
Mm-hmm.
So no one's talking about not having the kids in school. They're just saying, in order so that we can make sure the kids are safe in school, where, we want to require the mask, and, many jurisdictions are requiring vaccines or, really strict testing.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you want? Because from what I'm understanding, some of these places where school is already open, there are classes that have already moved back to virtual already.
Right.
And then in Florida, there were 4 teachers that in one county that are dead now. Like, within 24 hours, they died, from COVID. So, I mean, I guess I feel the way I feel because my son had it,
mm-hmm.
And he got it from being in school.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not knocking the school. It was bound to happen. It's just kids. I mean, kids are just different from adults. Like, they do what they do. I mean, how many times were you sick, Christine, from something that your kids then brought home from school? I mean, that's just life. And so they're going to get it. So I get that. They're going to get something, but it was horrible for him. Like, he wasn't hospitalized, but I don't think Mike has been right since. Like, I don't think he's been right. And if anything, he hasn't been right. He definitely hasn't been right amongst his headspace. Like, his mindset, his mind about it
mm-hmm.
has not been right. Like, he has actually had, I don't want to call it PTSD because I feel like that's a little dramatic, but he actually, I mean, it was a horrible feeling for him.
Mm-hmm.
And so he doesn't want to experience that again. And so I guess my question is, I mean, do we care that the kids get it? What's really going on?
I don't think it's dramatic. I just want to go back to you saying that maybe he has PTS, just post-traumatic stress about it.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't think that it's dramatic at all. I think that he was quite literally traumatized. Yeah. And people that don't understand that, like, why can't you? Like, kind of like it's I don't know. It's just not a huge deal. Like, there are people, I think earlier we had tossed there was a woman who the day before had gotten her and her child tested and received a positive result and sent them to school anyway, sent the child to school anyway.
In Nevada.
I'm concerned about. That's what I'm concerned about. I cannot, I care enough to not infect the next person. Exactly. I can't deal with the people that don't care enough to not infect other people. So when my daughter goes back to school here in Pennsylvania, last year we had the option to do either virtual or in person. I opted to keep her home because you can't trust what people are going to do. Now, I'm no saint. I have been known to send my kids to school with the sniffles because I couldn't take the day off of work. I overgave them Triminic, Robitussin, whatever. Hey, try to make it through the day. I have to go to work. I get it. COVID isn't that. Not in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that, Christine. I have not, ever since the thing has started, I've never understood it. So I mean, if we have some listeners that do understand, perhaps educate us. Perhaps we can even see about having somebody on the show and we can kind of talk through it. I don't know. I just don't. And I definitely, even the politics of it, I really don't get. I don't understand, because the thing about it is the COVID does not walk around with a red or blue sticker.
Right.
They should not register. Did not register to vote for either party. It really, I mean, it's showing that it's relentless. Like, it really is showing that is relentless. And look, the vaccine works. I am grateful for the vaccine. I'm convinced, when Mike brought it in the house, I'm convinced that it could have been another way for us. Both my wife and I both have, compromised immune systems to some degree. And, I get it. I get it why people won't get the vaccine. I get it. I just feel like you're playing around with it. So,
I forget what state it was that is making it. Oh, it's New Orleans. 12 and over, inside restaurants, public spaces, and everything. You have to either show your vaccine card or no, it's not. Or you have to show your vaccine card or in order to come in to their establishment.
I think San Francisco is doing something similar for gyms, restaurants. I think New York actually is making, there's a whole, I think it's New York City is doing something similar to that. I think it's going to be more commonplace. I think once the FDA gives the official approval on it.
And that's right around the corner.
Right around the corner.
All you naysayers, it's not even FDA approved.
Right, yeah.
Well, now what? Now what's it going to be?
There's always going to be an excuse. And like I said, I get it. And, here at Headspace with Dr. Mike, we want to be open to, and I'm just being honest with everybody, to say I don't understand.
Right.
It's one of those areas where I've spent a lot of time, kind of digging into things. You, Christine, you and I, we actually work, in human services, and so we get access to other things that people don't necessarily get access to. It's just a horrible situation. It's just a horrible situation, and so we're gonna be praying with everybody that's dealing with it currently, and let's just pray for our nation when it comes to that stuff, because we got a lot going on. Well, with that being said, you know what? Crystal, go ahead and hit the next spot, and then we're gonna come back because I got to let you guys in on what's happening in my life.
Our world is filled with polarizing topics that land most people on one side or the other. The Headspace with Dr. Mike team isn't afraid to take them on. Monthly, we will invite people on both sides of some of the most controversial topics, from the serious to the silly, to debate their positions. We look forward to charged discussions that will inform and entertain. DM your head-to-head show ideas to us on Instagram or Facebook at Headspace DM.
So I mentioned to everybody that I was in the hospital. So one of the things that we had going on was, we've talked through, and this is probably one of the most most vulnerable times I've been in my life, is that, just really opening up to what's really happening. So you all know about my journey with my weight and stuff like that over the last this has been decades. This has been my life. Went on Biggest Loser, lost a whole lot of weight, 100 and I forget the number now, 109 pounds, 106 pounds, something like that. No, 136 pounds. That's the number. And started the show at 444 and ended the show at 308. And then in the time, and I kind of joked and just said, I gained every ounce back, which I did. At one point, I weighed more than I did when I started the show. And going into this year, I actually weighed 100 pounds more than I started the show. So I actually was in the 500s. And this is the first time I've actually confessed that out in the open, to the point where it was actually beyond. It was at one point it was heading towards 600. And I was the kind of person that was I'm pretty. I was an athlete in aspects growing up, in different aspects. Played baseball and wrestling and all that stuff. But it just kind of caught up with me a little bit, and to the point where something else was going on. I just didn't know what it was, and so we got to a point where over the last year, and we did the 30 and 60 challenge, and that I'm involved in a program because I actually have searched a lot of different programs and actually found one that really works for me, and it's actually been working for a lot of the clients I work with as well. But what was happening was there was things that I needed to deal with, and it wasn't happening for me in the sense that I wasn't being totally honest. And so with that, one of the things that I wanted to share with you all is just about the importance of community and embracing your community. And we talk about using the term community, and community is a group of like-minded individuals. A lot of times we think of community, we think of like, I live in A community, I live in B community. Some people live in different parts of Baltimore. I live in Baltimore County, and so I live in a community within Baltimore County. Christine lives in a community in a part of York, Pennsylvania. You're outside of York, right? Aren't you York, Pennsylvania, Christine?
Yep. I live in Seven Valleys. Yep.
Yep. So that's the community that she's a part of. And so, the idea of community is extremely important. And one of the pieces that I was kind of missing out on was taking full advantage of the community that I was a part of. And so one of the things that we talk about with the program that I'm a part of, that what makes it work is you have the coaching. There's coaching. I'm coached by my health coaches. We also have what's called the habits of health, and it's the learning pieces, understanding what's happening in our body, what's going on in our body. There's the fuel food aspect of it. We call it. We know them. we call them fuelings. My coach is online, Ryan, and he lived in Seven Valleys, Christine. That's awesome. That's great. And then the last piece of it is community. And it's there's a community of folk who it's designed to encourage each other. We actually have calls during the week where we actually get together. We actually have get-togethers. As a matter of fact, I was in Atlanta for a big celebration with the group. By the way, I stayed to myself for most of it because it was a lot of people, and the COVID ain't gone yet. But one of the things that I became very clear with is that there is a community. There is a community that is there for each of us, and they're out there to help us and to keep us together. And it started with me being honest with my community. You all are my community, right? And so I made a transparent post on Facebook because nothing's official until it goes on Facebook. But I really had a scare. Y'all. It was really scary. Over the last year, I've been suffering with shortness of breath. Like I would walk, and I'm not talking like walking around the block. Like I couldn't even walk up and down steps without losing my breath, feeling like I was hyperventilating, to the point where I would actually hide from going out the house. Like I was like, well, I just don't want to go out the house because this is a lot of work. And compound that with 15 months of just not having to do anything. But one of the things that I did was I just was having that issue to the point where I was like, something must be wrong with me. And so over vacation, we had a great vacation with my family. My family and I, we actually had a great time. We went to Orlando. My wife and I went to Niagara Falls with a couple other couples to celebrate a friend's birthday. And if you've been to Niagara Falls, there's a lot of walking, and that was miserable to some degree because it was a lot. I was hyperventilating, whatever. But I kind of just shrugged it off. My doctors even said, you just need to keep doing it. You'll get better. But I felt like I wasn't getting better. And then we went to Orlando, and then we went to, I had to go to Atlanta. So that was walking through different airports. And just by the time I got from checking in our bags to sitting at the gate, I was saturated. Like I needed to actually change my shirt. Like you would have thought I had done a CrossFit workout. Like that's how sweaty I was. And there was a lot going on there because one, I was sitting in a situation where I felt helpless. The other part of it was I felt embarrassed because I had my wife and my son having to do things that I should be able to do because I was just inadequate, right? And then not to mention, like, what actually is going on with my body? And so it got to a point where the straw that broke the camel's back was I get back from Atlanta, and the day after that, getting back, I find out that a good friend of mine had passed away suddenly from a major heart attack. Had gone to the gym, wasn't necessarily feeling the best, went to the gym and got in the car, put his head back, and he was gone. And he had just celebrated his 51st birthday just a couple days before. And that crushed me. That devastated me. When I tell you that shook me, so much so that I opted last Friday. I went ahead and drove. I tried to make an appointment with my doctor. She wasn't available. So I made an appointment at the urgent care. And at the urgent care, I went on the urgent care last Friday. And they were like, there's only but so much we can do. You probably should just go to the emergency room. And so I went to the emergency room. So I came home and I packed a little bag. I packed my CPAP, of course, because I didn't want to be anywhere. If I had to go to sleep, I want to make sure I could sleep well. And I packed a little bag because I said to Sherelle, I said, there's a chance I probably will get held over. And sure enough, I got to the hospital and they started running tests, and they kept me because my legs were so full of fluid that they actually wanted to put me on a stronger diuretic, and did all the tests. My heart looks great. Even in my bigness, my heart looks great. No blood clots. I just need to keep working harder at getting stronger, and I get rid of the weight. So today and on Saturdays during our show, I'm going to tell you guys what the scale says. And you know what? It was funny when we're talking about this idea of community. One of the things that happens in the community is, look, like we have a reason why we surround ourselves with a community. We put ourselves in the community because there are people in the community who are there to help. And I learned that over this past couple of weeks, that there is a community that is really invested in making sure the members of the community are okay. And that includes me. And it's hard for me to recognize because, sometimes we put on these blocks, we try to put on these protective layers. We try to look a certain way in front of people. But one of the things that I'm clear on is that how it works is real simple. You got to be honest, you got to be open, and you got to be willing. So honest, right? I got to be honest. So today I weighed in at 533.6, 533 pounds and 0.6. That's where I'm at today. And every Saturday, I'm going to get on the scale because I send a picture to my coaches, and I'm going to tell you guys what it is, good, bad, and ugly, right? Now, of course, my legs look 100 times better than they did when they first started because they've been really working with, I've always been, even on Biggest Loser, I had problems with retention of water in my legs particularly. So it was always a thing, even with Biggest Loser, even after losing the weight, I still was full of water. So there's still fluid going on, but that's that. I am committing to being 100% on program. One of the things that I was telling folk is that I would do it. Like I really would. Like when we did the 30 and 60 challenge, like I was really gung-ho for those 60 days. But then after the 60 days, I had anniversary. And so, you do the whole, I'm just going to celebrate my anniversary for a little bit, right? And that little bit turns into a whole lot. I've been celebrating anniversary for weeks. And my anniversary was the end of May. And, then it was like, you always have something. Like I have anniversary, and then I have vacation, and then I have birthdays, and then we have the holidays, and then we have this. And so then you start looking at the calendar like, well, when do you have time to fit in this. And look, I didn't get 533 pounds overnight. There was another coach. Well, you know what? I'll tell you that story after the break. Go ahead, Crystal. Let's take a quick break, and I'll share the rest of that story.
Focused on photo, versed in video, For Any Media brings visions to life, from headshots to family shoots, casual candids to structured scenes. Our team can provide whatever you need. In Baltimore, you may have seen us at local events such as the Poly City Tailgate or the Randallstown Romp. You can find us on all social media platforms at the number 4 Any Media. For Any Media, for anything. Contact us so we can create.
Yeah, so I was Christine, I got you on here because you are a big part of my community, and you are a person that you know, you keeps me honest, and you make sure I stay real. But no, there was so how we do it, we have other coaches that are like, so the mentors of my coaches, time and time they meet with us, and there was one particular mentor. He met with me like 30 days into the program, and you know, one of the comments that he made was, you know, how much weight do you have to lose? Because I told him how much I weighed, and he was like, all right, so you're gonna be doing this for a couple of years. And I got mad, like, how you gonna tell me I'm gonna do this a couple of years? And I told him about it. He was like, you know, I told him about the story just the other day, and he asked me, he said, when did you start program? Like, when did you first start program? I said, about 2 years ago. He says, so, and as soon as he said so, I knew exactly that I probably should hang up, because he was like, have you listened to what I said? You'd be done. And so it was one of those things where I started thinking about, like, man, like, I mean, yeah, 2 years went by so fast, but yet they seem so slow. And so, you know, one of the things that you know, I had to commit to is, look, I didn't put this on here overnight. It's not going to leave overnight, right? And it's gonna be one of the hardest things that I'm going to have to do. And there's also a spiritual element to it as well, because I'm very clear that there are some things that I'm supposed to do in the kingdom, i.e. Headspace with Dr. Mike and some other things, that how am I able to do it if I'm not at where I need to be in the world of discipline, in the world of optimal health, in the world of all those things. And so this is something that is very important, and it starts with community. And so, Christine, I want to acknowledge you, you know, publicly, for just being a member of my community, and, you know, being there when I needed somebody to listen to, but then also, you know, not necessarily telling me what I want to hear. Although there are times, you know, that what I need to hear is not the time to give me that. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate that, you know, because you need some people that, you know, just sometimes we're not ready to receive that. Agreed. But at the same time, you're not going to let me go too far without hearing it.
Mm-hmm. I will definitely tell you tripping.
Yeah, you do. And you know, Sherelle is not on here, but one of the things that I am so appreciative is that I have a helpmate suitable who does that for me. And there are some times where there are things that she doesn't say because she knows that just the timing is not right. But I do know that she's in the back corner praying for me. I see my mom is on here, and I know that she's supportive as well. And sometimes she has to bite her tongue. Although, you know, moms have a different relationship, especially with their sons. You know, we tend to jump on y'all a little bit more than we jump on everybody else because we so close to y'all. I mean, after all, we were connected to you physically for 9 months of our lives. You know, I'm just appreciative, and then I just see people like Kevin and Jamal, and of course Ryan is on here, and just other people who have just been really supportive. And so, you know, y'all, we got to embrace our community, and how that works is we got to be honest, and then we got to be open. We got to be open to what is it that they're saying, or what is it that we're getting from it? You know, open to new possibilities, open to the possibility that what we're doing is not the best thing, open to the fact that in order for us to get to a certain place, we got to change the way we do something, right? Just because we've done it a certain way, the same way for so long, does not necessarily mean it's the right way. Mm-hmm. It just means that it's a way, you know? And some things that worked in the past didn't always work in the future because the circumstances are different, right? And then I like to tell the story about the pot roast. Although we're talking about food, well, we're not really talking about food, but I always have good examples about food. And Christine, you've heard my story about the pot roast, about the man who loved rump roast, right? And his wife used to make it, but the only thing that used to frustrate him about it was before she made it, she always cut off both ends of it, and so he felt like she was, throwing away all this good meat. And so he was like, "Why do you keep doing that?" And she said, "That's the way my mother always made it." And so he talked to his mother-in-law, was like, we're losing valuable meat. Why did she do it? She said, "That's the way my mother always did it." And so one day they're at Big Mama's house, and Big Mama's, he loves Big Mama anyway, and she loves him, but he's like, I want to tell her about herself because she owes a lot of money for all this meat. And so he said, I love your recipe from rump roast, but the only thing is that your daughter and your granddaughter keep throwing away all this meat. And she all of a sudden starts laughing and says, "Why? Did they tell you that it was because I didn't have a big enough pan? Like, the only reason why I had to cut off both ends was so I could fit it all in the same pan. And then what I would do is go to the back and put it in another pan." She said, "But once I got a bigger pan, I was able to put it all together. I didn't have to cut anything off because I had a bigger pan. But at the time, I didn't." And so sometimes there are things that we've done in the past that they worked in the past, but now the times are different. We need to start evaluating, all right, what's going to work for now? And that's why we have a community we can bounce those ideas off of. So anyway, I appreciate that. Kevin, I appreciate your words. I want you to know, brother, you are an inspiration to me as well. I love keep your post about when you're doing your walk-in and all the things that you're doing to get yourself stronger as well. And we're all in this together. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure I reached out to my community and kind of let you in on everything that's going on. I got released from the hospital the other day. They changed around some of my medication to just make me feel better. And look, I just got to work harder at it. And the point
they kept him on the crazy pills, though, y'all. He still got to take that.
Yeah. Still got to take the crazy pills. But nonetheless, I thank you all for your prayers and your concern and your accountability. And look, we got to do this together. We got a lot of world to work on, right? And we got a lot of people to expose to work on their headspace. And so I'm excited about you all headspacers joining in our crusade. So while we didn't start the 30 and 60 challenge officially, be on the lookout because it is coming back. Because I think that there were some things that had to happen for me to make sure I could lead it right. And so the 30 and 60 challenge will be coming soon, but I just wanted to give you guys a heads up on what's happening. Crystal, go ahead and pay the bill.
Follow the Headspace with Dr. Mike show on all social media platforms at Headspace DM. We want to keep you up to date on all of our hot topics and keep the dialogue going even after the show. We also value what's important to you and your community. DM your show ideas to us on Instagram or Facebook. The next time you log on, you may hear Dr. Mike discussing the very topic or issue close to your heart.
What a show. What a show. Lord have mercy. I didn't cry, though.
I thought you were getting ready to.
You thought I was getting ready to? You getting yourself geared up? Not
really geared. I just thought you were. I thought you did the little... And then you got it together.
What did I do, Christine? What did I do? One more time. What did I do? I did a little what? Christine is my Aries partner, and sometimes she likes to disown me because I do things that are uncharacteristic of Aries, and so she sometimes wonders, was that an uncharacteristic area of an Aries? Was that? Oh, that was okay. All right, good.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Now, we try to keep it in there, but sometimes like you did a good job. Usually we can't, so I was proud of you.
I don't think I have any tears left. So, well, anyway, with that being said, y'all be praying for the Vaden family. That's my buddy's family that passed his arrangements for next week. And so got to gear up for that. And, sometimes it takes little things like that. One thing I'm grateful for is that he is no longer in pain, if he ever was in pain. And I know that I'm going to see him again. And we're going to cut up. We're going to cut up to the point where we probably going to get kicked off the pearly gates for a little bit because we're going to be acting up. But I miss you, brother, and love you, and can't wait to see you again. With that being said, everybody, it was awesome hanging out with you all again. Christine, thank you as always for filling in as a co-host, and you're doing a great job with it, by the way. And I love everybody, and wish you all many blessings that God has for you. Until we shall meet again, see you next week. Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to Headspace with Dr. Mike. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to follow us on social media at Headspace DM to continue the dialogue with other Headspacers regarding today's show. Everyone is filling their headspace with something. The question is, what are you filling yours with? Tune in next week.